a House Sivis broadcasting.
Happy Far, everyone. Today is the 20th of Dravago, Year of our King 998. My name is Alufi Haskell de Sivis.
And I'm Silas de Sivis. And I'm also quite convinced that it is currently Lavrion, not Dravago. It is unseasonably hot, and even here in our booth, I can feel it.
Oh yeah, like you can tell that the cooling runes in here are working their butts off. Do runes have butts?
You're the man. I would not know.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm happy that we have them because I could not imagine sitting in a hot studio right now.
Oh no, it would be unbearable. We went through that a little last year, right at the start of everything, because we didn't have the runes in place. But man, I am thankful we do today.
Mm-hmm. You know, I went down to my favorite cafe today. I got myself like a nice little iced beverage. It was really fun. It was nice. Kind of tried to keep the heat off, but it's been a bad one.
And that's nice. I'm glad to hear that you had a nice school day. I was invited to see something special by a friend of mine. He said he had a dragon shard from somewhere in the Talented Plains that I would find fascinating, and so I went to his office today, and I was like, oh, this will be nice. I went all the way down there, and I stood outside for an hour, and he never showed. He did not show up at all. I spent an hour outside of Toffrin DeMillick's office, and I waited and waited and waited, and he never showed up. Toffrin, if you are listening, I am going to hurt you. It was so unbearably hot, and I wish I had a cool drink with me. That would have been nice.
Do you think it's because like Fernia is Coterminius right now? I don't think it is.
I have no idea what that means, but probably.
You know what that means.
Of course. I definitely know what that means.
When you look up in the sky tonight, look to see if Ire is really, really shiny, even though it's not the month of Ire.
Oh, thank you, Alufi, for that condescending answer there. Just because I don't pay attention to the moons and all that doesn't mean that I'm not as educated on other things.
Oh yeah, you're really educated on hitting people with big old sharp sticks.
They're called swords.
Yeah.
No, you say yeah, but I'm much more educated on that. I also know lightning rails. I went to the station today and spent a portion of my time there. That was a really enjoyable time.
Was this before or after you spent an hour outside of some guy's office?
It was after.
Okay.
So I went there, and then I spent 3 hours in a tavern where they had cool drinks, and then I stumbled my way to the station, and I was excited to be there, and I was going to go and look around at the rails, but unfortunately, they had it blocked off.
Ooh, why?
They were transporting something for House Lyrand or some big obelisk-looking thing. I got little glimpses of it. It looked very intricate. It was like a big stone with runes, but they wouldn't let anyone near.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Normally, Lyrand, why wouldn't they just use an airship?
I imagine because of the weight. It was massive. I can't stress that enough. It was the size of 2 rail cars.
Oh my gosh, 2?
Yes. I was going to book passage, but then I remembered I had to do this today, and I was like, that's...
You remembered.
Well, again, I spent 3 hours in a tavern.
Man, Meeps really knows how to sober you up then.
It is a good cup of coffee here.
Anyway, we've got quite a show for you today. We actually have 2 different guests. Coming in right after our intro music is going to be a member of the Sharn Watch.
And then after that mandatory guest, we have a special guest that I'm excited about, our good friend, Genbo Santor de Sivis.
I can't wait to see him again.
We won't, but it'll be nice to hear him at least.
Hear him, yeah. On the other side of this intro music, then, you'll be listening to A Chronicle of Echoes.
And we're back. Today we have a guest with us here in the booth that I'm a little apprehensive to have with us, but he was very insistent. And that is Patrolman Orson Lawson.
Welcome, Orson.
And it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you today.
Wow, your voice is very aggressive.
It's one of those things when you're out running around protecting the city, your voice gets a little hoarse at times. It happens.
It feels like it's a big horse, not a little one.
Not a pony. No, I get to make that joke and not you,
It was
yes.
a good one. It was a good one.
That was rather funny, yes.
Patrolman, why don't you explain why we have you in the booth today?
So the thing is that I am the current lead on your tread case that you guys have, and I'm trying to find him. And in doing so, I'm trying to keep everybody safe, and so I came in here today. Spent a little bit of time with all of you, and getting a feel for what may have happened to a Mr. Tread.
Well, since you're in, I would love to talk about the intricacies of what it is to be a member of the Sharn Watch.
You must not be busy, considering you forced your way in here and have made it abundantly clear that you would put us through Kyber if we didn't let you interview, and made it quite difficult for our friend Genbo. We'll talk about that in a minute. So yes, tell us what it's like to be a member of the Watch.
Well, it's not easy. I'm not gonna lie. The whole thing is a little more difficult than I initially anticipated when I was growing up. See, I always wanted to be a guard, but what they don't tell you is that most of what you do, you're not gonna get to solve. A lot of the crime that goes on in this city gets solved by adventurers or wandering strangers, cosmic forces. Most of what we do is just trying to keep the streets safe, making sure people don't die on the falls, because, that's a real issue. And then just making sure that, like, parade permits are enforced. It's a pretty lackluster job, to be quite honest.
Patrolman Lawson, where here in Sharn did you grow up?
I grew up down at Ship's Towers, right near the mud caves, right on the cusp of between the two districts. And, growing up, crime really influenced my neighborhood. And so I decided that I was going to do something to make it a little better.
Look, to the waterfront district, that is definitely one of the harsher places to grow up here in Sharn.
Especially during, the storm seasons.
Oh, goodness. So, how do you feel about the claims from both the Korenberg Chronicle and the Sharn Inquisitive, as well as many of the counselors here in Sharn, that the Watch is an inherently corrupt organization?
I mean, how do you feel about claims that House Sivis is corrupt, or that the whole Dragonmark Houses things is a little backwards? There's a lot of people who say a lot of things, but you know what? When you're on the streets, doing what you can each and every day, you don't think about that. You think about the little guy you're helping, not some guy sitting behind the desk making all sorts of outlandish claims.
Now, I am just making sure the little guy you're helping is not a halfling.
Let's not touch on that, because I don't want to. Can we not anger them today?
I apologize, Silas. I don't know it. I don't know what's gotten into me.
See, that's the interesting thing about House Sivis. You got a guy who's got ties right here, the House Boromore, and what do? You say, oh, it's the Sharn Watch. Oh, the Watch is the bad guys, not the guy who's telling everyone in the city that he's in with the Boromore clan.
What I'm getting from you right now, Patrolman Lawson, is that you don't want to make a comment on the corruption of the Sharn Watch at this moment in time, and would rather not say anything.
I don't know, Mr. Sivis. I thought this was going to be a friendly time, and I could say, hey to the boys, and it'd be a nice time. But no, you want to go ahead and ask me about that? I don't think the Sharn Watch is corrupt. And you did not address the corruption charges within your own house, so I think I'm going to go ahead and leave now. You enjoyed the rest of your time with your little friend. I'll be the one protecting you in the hallway, making sure that psychopath in the other room doesn't get out.
He's not a psychopath. He's just a writer.
It was an absolute pleasure having you here. I respect the Sharn Watch, and I'm a huge fan of having the Sharn Watch protect us in our day-to-day lives.
I agree entirely. I was just asking his opinion on what he thinks about all of these different institutions saying that his institution is a corrupt one. I just wanted to know what he thought about that and if he had any rebuttals to that. As a beat watchman, I would imagine that he has a lot of ideas and thoughts on how him and his comrades are perceived in Sharn.
Maybe we will do a thing where we bring on other Sharn Watch members and we can find out and get more insight onto that without being as vitriolic. But again, he did make it abundantly clear that he was going to be on regardless of what we wanted.
Yeah, definitely other members of the Watch and Guard. Anyway, right after this fun little bit of music, we are going to be speaking to our wonderful friend, Genbo Santor de Sivis.
And we're back. Today we have a guest who I've been excited to talk to for some time and has finally come in today. Our very good friend, Genbo Santor de Sivis.
Salutations, Mr. Silas. Salutations, Miss Alufi.
You do not have to lean in so close to the hole there. We can hear you clearly, Genbo.
I'm sorry, I wasn't sure how this would work. I want to make sure that the singer device is picking up my voice sufficiently.
Well, it has done so for countless sponsors before. For our listeners, Genbo has been relegated to the sponsor booth, and he's talking to us through the wall here, through this hole, and that is because I may have mentioned Corners of Corvair in regard to Tread, and now Genbo is getting some serious questions.
It's a perfectly reasonable response.
Well, I mean, I'm happy to have Genbo here. I mean, it's nice to hear you again since we had that picnic the other day. How are you liking Sharn?
Well, I'm almost done with my list of the 12 places to visit, and of course I've gone a couple other places myself and written about them. But Sharn is, my goodness, it's so much, isn't it?
It can get pretty busy sometimes, yeah.
So, I have questions regarding whether or not the City Watch is letting you leave the city.
Not just yet. They seem to have drawn an unfair connection between your colloquial use of the phrase Corners of Corvair with my eponymous article in the Chronicle, and unfortunately, getting an official statement from the editors at the Chronicle is taking a little bit longer than I would prefer, but I completely understand. I just want this trad business to come to a conclusion. And if that conclusion were a happy one, I think we'd all be better off for it.
Well said. I think we'd all like a happy outcome here. Would you like to take this opportunity here to vehemently deny that you had anything to do with Trad's kidnapping and or murder?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Genbo Santor de Sivis, House Agent and Order of the Scribes, 4th class, correspondent at large for the Kornberg Chronicle, and I am in no way affiliated with or related to the nefarious person or persons who have caused the disappearance of the subscribe Trad Trindadadel.
Well, now that we have all of that taken care of and, you know, said where everybody can see, I mean, I think that it's pretty obvious that you didn't do it because you weren't even in Sharn when Trad went missing. And
That's correct, and my publications in the Chronicle prove that definitively.
I just think that the Sharn Watch are just dumb.
Let's not defame anyone in the watch. We are indebted to those who protect the city, so let's treat them with that respect.
You're right. They're extremely misguided.
Gembo, you brought us gifts. Did you? We have.
Yes. Well, I brought gifts for each of you. Let me start with Mr. Furrowbow. For him, I obtained a lovely matching waistcoat and cravat in Brailish blue from the dyers in Gallifspire.
I don't know if you can see him through the hole there, but he is enjoying that.
I'm glad. If you would let him know, I'd thoroughly enjoy seeing an exploded diagram of the Singer device at some point. But anyway, for Miss Alufi, I got you a tunic in a new color that's just out of Gallifspire called Laharvian Orange. And this particular color has not made its way into the fashion consciousness of the City of Towers just yet. So you'll be on the forefront of that trend.
Oh my goodness, it's so pretty. Okay, but I'm gonna have to go get changed later.
So I don't know if I enjoy that color. It looks aggressive. It looks like I'm concerned by looking at that. It immediately the orange is just very very bright.
Like a summer sunrise, yes.
I'll look like a summer sunrise, Silas.
Yeah, they will track you all throughout the city. I am certain of that with that color. I am surprised it definitely feels more at home further north than way down here.
I think you're just jealous.
In addition to the tunic, Miss Alufi, I also acquired for you a white azalea that I rescued from the parliamentary gardens in Rowett. The only thing is that you have to promise to keep it alive as long as possible and never wear it as a decoration on your clothing because it apparently has political ramifications.
Oh, I mean, I think political ramifications are neat.
Well, but that's why the flower beds were being ripped up, is that supporters of the Brelish royal family in Parliament had begun wearing white azaleas as sort of a symbol of their allegiance to the throne, and their opposition passed legislation outlawing displays of political partisanship on the grounds of Parliament. And so this poor woman had to rip up her entire flower bed of azaleas. I wrote about it in one of my Corners of Corvair articles, and I was able to rescue this one for you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna keep it. But I won't wear it like you told me to. But
Thank you.
those guys in Rote, sometimes they're just really silly, huh?
Yep.
And by that we mean that we have no opinions on what the capital and the king do in any way, shape, or form. We support him entirely. What are you doing?
I'm sorry.
For you, Mr. Silas, I have a Diary of the Lightning Rod Society of Passage. This is the book they use when they cite carriages along the lightning rail tracks. They can turn to that carriage's page and mark off that they've seen it. This is the second edition of the diary, and I'm told it's quite advanced.
Oh wow, that is an extremely thoughtful gift. I'm surprised to see this. I have a lot of love for the lightning rail, and that means a lot. Thank you, Genbo.
You're quite welcome, Mr. Silas. Given your predilection for the lightning rail, I thought it was apropos.
Absolutely. Apropos. Yeah,
So,
yes.
Silas, this means that you can actually have a real reason to look at the lightning rails now and not do like your weird sketchbook thing you normally do.
Oh, I mean, I respect that. Are you going to be able to wear that bright of a color to the petting zoo, or are you going to blind all of the animals?
I don't know. Does House Orion think that it's all right that you like stare at their lightning rails in a sexual way, or
Not to interrupt, but I do have one more present for Mr. Silas.
Oh,
This one took a bit of doing, but I was in Greywall recently, and I brought you a bottle of something called Brain Sledge.
oh, wow. That is difficult to come by. That is quite illegal.
Um, Technically, it's only illegal to import Brain Sledge across national borders. And since Drome, of course, isn't a recognized thronehold nation, I never actually imported it across the national border. But just in case you're worried about a technicality like that, I also went to the Speakers Guild and my vocabulary is failing me. I also went to the Speakers Guild and I obtained an official writ designating this bottle as a diplomatic gift between the Notaries Guild and the Broadcasting Guild. And so there is no illegality with that bottle.
Well, that is a lot to go through just to make sure that I get this. I am looking forward to giving it a try. Uh, I'm assuming that the reason it is missing, I would say a couple of mouthfuls there, is that the watch making sure that it's not poison. Is that what you were doing? Well, he seems to be enjoying it, so I will have to give it a sample. I think in the privacy of my own quarters.
I would recommend that. Apparently, the hangovers that it can induce are much more potent than the intoxicating effects.
Well, I hope that the gentleman who decided to sample that has a lovely morning tomorrow. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to take that. I've had some pretty rough mornings myself, so we'll have to find out.
Well, I wish you luck, Mr. Silas.
we'll just make sure that they're like someone from House Durasco stops by your apartment later.
I should just keep one on retainer. I've said that for a while now that I should just have House Orasco on retainer. But that's neither here nor there. I do have one question though, Genbo. It's been eating at the back of my mind, much like this cocktail will do shortly. How exactly were you listening to the Echoers if you weren't in Sharn when Trad was taken?
That's a very interesting question with a very interesting answer, Mr. Silas. I have an artificer friend who has invented a device called the encipherer or the enciphering device, which can encipher sounds onto small discs of metal that can then be deciphered later and the audio can be listened to. So he has been enciphering all the echoes and sending them to me so that I can listen to them whenever I want.
I didn't realize that type of thing existed. At
Okay,
moment.
but that's like really cool. So like does that mean that like anything we say, like you hear all of it?
You know what? We'll talk about that after because I don't want to.
No, but think of like the possibilities, Silas.
I am thinking of the possibilities. The name is not good. They need to workshop that, but
They're not part of Tasker's Dream. They don't have that marketing team behind them.
We'll talk about that. Let's, Mr. Genbo, how did you get into writing? Let's.
Oh, well, I guess my mother got me into writing at a very young age. My mother runs a preschool in Corenburg. And gosh, I've been putting pen to paper longer than I can remember, probably before I could even walk. But specifically, as a writer for the Chronicle, it really came down to when I left the Speakers Guild and I joined the Notary Guild, and they started sending me out uh, on to all of these enclaves and message stations around the continent, that I kept meeting interesting people, and I kept seeing amazing things, and so I just started writing them down and sending them off to the Chronicle. And then once I called it the Corners of Corvair, that really caught the editor's attention, and now I'm published.
I will say that that is one of the things I really enjoy about your articles is that it has a unique perspective to it, and it always seems like the most exciting things are happening to you.
Well, I wouldn't say they're happening to me. They are happening around me.
I like reading them. I think you're just good at writing.
Oh, thank you, Miss Alufi. You're quite kind. I like to think that the Corners of Corvair isn't about me. It's about the people who live there and work there in places like Passage and Galithspire and Zolenberg. That things that the average news reader doesn't hear about all the time. I mean, my editor may call them interesting persons stories or flump pieces, as he calls them, but to me, they're the most important stories that need to be told.
I think that's why we do a lot of the news articles that we do, and why we try and highlight just the little things that happen here in Sharn, because there's always going to be like a big adventurer saving the day out there somewhere. And especially this year, that's been so hectic and crazy already, where the world feels like it's balancing on a string. It's good to know that there are just normal people still living normal people lives.
And I also would like to note that it's just a very different take on everything because we have Thresher Kane who views everything as an adventure, whereas you see the beauty in the day to day. And it's just a nice, different perspective.
I have a great deal of respect for Mr. Kane and his work, but he does write for the Inquisitive.
And the Inquisitive is a perfectly valid and good source of news for all of your Sharn needs.
But if you're interested in information from outside the City of Towers, the Chronicle is the way to go.
Now, since we did bring up Thresher Kane, this is, I suppose, a gift to you, Genbo. We wanted to give you one of our experimental remote broadcasting devices. As you know, it's a device that we have in partnership with House of Yarlin that will allow you to essentially sit in the booth with us no matter where in the world you are. So you could be in Karnath enjoying some wonderful cheese, and you could be sitting here in the booth talking to us about all of the wonderful things that you get to experience there.
La and lore, what a wonder! Does it operate under the principle of sympathetic concordance with the moon of Serania and the manifest zone here in Sharn?
It does a little bit, but
Oh,
it also has a lot to do with it's similar to the Crystal Theaters, where it's recording and then not quite sending.
It's magic, is what it is. I don't understand any of what you're saying, but
well,
it is fundamentally magic.
I'll try to avoid the temptation of popping it open and seeing how it works. I certainly wouldn't want to damage it in any way. This is a profoundly generous offer. I'm I'm overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah. Don't open it. We cannot stress enough. Do not open that. We trust you will not open that.
Yes, Mr. Silas.
Why did he say that weird?
Was there anything else we had asked Gembo?
No, I think that we were gonna give him that, and that was
Yeah, and then your dad's stopping by, right?
yeah. Oh, my dad is stopping by. because he said that he wanted to talk to you because he reads your articles in the Chronicle.
Harless Haskell de Sivis reads my articles and wants to meet me?
Yeah, a lot of us do because, you wrote into us that one time, and then we talk about you a lot. Not here on the Echoers all the time, but...
I know, but he's an unbound scroll. He's one of the ranking members of the House. I read his book.
Oh, yeah. I've got like 4 copies at home.
Yeah, he tried to tip with one the other day, and I was not really impressed with that.
Do you think he'd sign my copy?
Oh, he will definitely sign it. I know that for a fact. He is a bit of an egotist.
No, he's not. He's nice.
Well, if he's got an ego, I'm certain it's well deserved.
Yeah, Silas. Well deserved. Well, thank you so much, Genbo, for sitting in with... Well, not sitting in with us because you're on the other side of a wall, but...
And underarmed guard.
Yeah. Heavily armed guards.
And while we will not be able to come over and see you, as I did say, Alufi's dad will be there to talk to you. And hopefully that'll be a nice time. We can talk through the wall while you're talking to him.
Yeah. And for everybody out there who's listening to the Echoers and enjoying your time on this beautiful far here in Sharn, or I suppose outside of it, if Genbo, you happen to be listening later, I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and...
To everyone out there, just remember, the corners of Corvair are the best place to listen out for those echoes of hope.
It is so weird he mentioned flump pieces because Kevin was just talking about flumps.
He was just talking about flumps. Like, what's going on with that?
I don't know.
It's a weird time. Yeah. Like, have you seen one?
Never.
It's got, like, the tentacles.
No.